guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video, I'm going to be doing an in-depth chipping test with the Garmin R10. And it's a video I wish was out when I was considering buying the R10. When I was considering getting the R10, one of the things I always wondered about was how good it was at chipping, because I wanted to use this thing for simulator golf. And I found it very difficult to find videos with a lot of in-depth chipping. There was videos where people would hit one or two shots and they'd go, oh yeah, it works great, but there was no real in-depth videos on chipping. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in today's video. Today I'll be doing normal chip shots, I'm going to be doing bump and runs, I'm going to be doing pitch shots, flop shots, bunker shots, and everything in between. I'm going to push the R10 to its limits, and I'm going to find out when it fails, at what distance carry, and also what launch conditions. I've got a second camera set up today, so hopefully you'll be able to see exactly how the ball launches, the trajectory of it, and where it lands. All of those numbers that you see on your screen are in feet, and that's feet from my hitting position to where it lands. So, quick disclaimer. Everyone's setup is going to yield different results from the R10 in terms of chipping. And this is just my results that I get from the R10 in my environment with chipping. However, that being said, I think the R10 is a fantastic unit, and I think the chipping works great. I'll first start out with my setup. I've got 6 foot 2 inches unit to ball, and I've got 10 foot ball to screen. With my environment, this is generally where I chip from. However, I usually quote people 9 foot ball to screen, just because that's my worst case, and that's where I have to hit driver from, because if I went from 10 foot ball to screen with driver, my backswing would hit my back garage door, so I have to move it forward a bit. But for the purpose of today's test, all shots are going to be 10 foot ball to screen and 6 foot 2 inches unit to ball. Okay guys, so we are out here at the GS Pro chipping green again. And we're going to start off with the chip shots. So I'm going to aim to land these at around 10 feet, which is the screen, and I'm going to work my way back to that 5 foot mark, and we're going to see when the R10 starts to struggle. And that was a bit long, that was more like 11 or 12. That's pretty much 10 foot on the number. And we'll work it back to 9 feet. That was more like 8 feet. It's still registering the shots, but if you look at the distance that they're going in that top right-hand corner, that said 2 yards, which is more like 6 feet. And that one flew 8 in the room. I'll work back to 7 feet. Pretty much 7 foot on the number. And again, still registered. Registering at just about 2 meters, so 6 feet again in the sim. In the room, we saw that it went 7 feet. All right, this should start testing it a bit more now, so let's go 6 feet. That was about 5.5 feet. Now, still registered, but if you look at the carry distance, it said 1 yard, which is close, it's 3 feet, where we saw that that carried about 5.5. I'll do another 6 foot chip. That was pretty much 6 foot on the number. Still registered, but the distance was still a little bit short in game. I'll go 5 foot now. That was just short of 5 feet. And that one didn't register. That was about 4.5 feet, I'd say. We'll go for 5 feet again. That was 5 feet. And it registered. But look at the distance. 0.8, so it's closer to that 3 feet again. I'll go for 7, or go for just over 7 feet. Oh, I thinned that one. That was about 6.5. Still registered. Horizontal launch angle was probably incorrect though. I don't think it was 3.5 degrees left. It was left, but I don't think it was that far left. So I'll try and go 7 feet. Okay, that was close to 7 feet, just short, and it registered pretty well. I'll do 7 foot again. Okay, that was 7 foot on the number. And it did register, and that's looking pretty consistent. So I think with these chip shots, 7 foot seems to be a consistent number for it. That was 7 foot again, or just under 7 feet. And it registered and it was quite consistent. Go 7 foot again. A little bit longer, 7.5. And that one registered really well. I'm going to go 6 feet. I'll take a little bit off it. And that was 5.5. And it still registers, but you're not getting consistent distance readings. Seems like the shots between 5 to 6 feet are all just registering at 3 feet. But at least they are registering. All right, I'll go for 6 feet again. It's pretty much 6 feet. And again, it registered, but the distance was a bit incorrect. I'll go again for 6 feet. 6 foot on the number. And all those 6 foot shots are registering and all saying about 1.1 yards. So let's go for 7.5 feet to 8 feet. And that was 8.5. And that's quite consistent. That's quite good. 7.5 to 8 feet. Okay, that was 7 feet. Distance was a little short on the raw carry distance, but it registered. That was 7 feet. And it's pretty good. It registered. The distance was still a little bit short in game. I'll go 8 feet now. That was 8 foot on the sticker. And that is pretty good. We'll go again. We'll go for 8 feet again. That's 8 foot on the sticker again. And we're seeing that 6 to 7 foot carry. We'll go for 8 foot again. Just a little bit long by a couple of inches. And that's really good. I'll go 7 foot. That was 6 foot. Still registered a little bit short in game. And I'll go for one more. We'll go 7.5 feet. Pretty much 7.5 feet. And good shot. All right, guys, so that was the short chipping test. And as you saw, everything pretty much registered. But I'd say the most consistent distance in terms of what you saw in the room compared to what you saw in the actual sim was 7 to 8 feet. So anything over 7 feet seemed to accurately represent what was actually happening in the room. However, the shots that landed 6 foot, even 5 foot, still registered on the Garmin, just the distance was a bit incorrect in the actual game itself. Having said that, the distances that we were seeing in the game itself were consistent. Okay, let's now move on to pitch shots. I don't really think the Garmin's going to struggle with these. It's pretty accurate and pretty consistent with pitch shots, but let's have a look. Okay guys, so on to pitch shots now. So I've set up a shot that's 28 yards. So I'm going to look to carry this about 20 yards and have it run up. Let's see what we get. I am using a 60 degree again. We've got ball cam going. I don't know if you're going to see the ball flight. These might be a little high, but we'll see. That carried 16. And these generally for me are very consistent. I think the big thing with the Garmin, oh, I didn't hit that hard enough. I think the big thing with the Garmin is the short chip shots. All right, 20-yard carry. 15, little short. It's going to roll up. Go a little bit harder. Around the 18-yard carry. And these shots, realistically, the Garmin doesn't really struggle with these. Hand on heart, I can say these are pretty easy for the Garmin to get. And I'll do a couple more. I'll go for a lower shot that runs a bit more. And what I might do for these pitch shots as well is I'll use a few different clubs. So I'm going to grab my 52. And we'll see how we go with this. Be a little bit of a lower launch angle. It'll run up. And look to carry these probably about 12 to 14 yards. There we go, it's rolling up nicely. Short one there. So as you can see, all these shots for the Garmin, very easy for it to handle. No issues really. All right guys, that's pitching, and as you saw, no issues. The Garmin R10 is very good at pitch shots. I've never had an issue with pitch shots. It's very consistent. Okay, so what about bump and runs? This is going to push the Garmin a little bit as well. Those lower launch shots tend to push the Garmin a bit more, and it's a bit harder for it to read the ball flight. So let's do some bump and runs. I've got a 20-yard shot here. I'm going to start with an 8-iron, and then I'm going to change clubs. I'll go 8, 6, 4-iron, and we'll see where it drops off, if it does. Bump and runs with an 8-iron, 20-yard shot. A little bit long. Go a little bit shorter. And that was really low. Still picked it up. And we'll go a little bit shorter. That should be close. Go on, feet up there. So that one hit the bottom of the screen, probably about 6 inches up. That was about a foot up on the screen. And all these seem to be registering, no issues. I'll do one more of these and then I'll switch over to the 6-iron. All right, no issues with an 8-iron bump and run. And you saw the launch profile there on ball cam. Let's jump over to a 6-iron. And we're going to do the same thing with a 6-iron. However, this one will have a lower trajectory just due to the loft change. And it's still registered that. And that's barely hitting the bottom of the screen there. Probably the lowest shot that I've hit so far. And everything seems to be pretty accurate with what I'm seeing in the room to what's happening in the simulation. So even that, for instance, that said it carried 4 yards, and that's 12 feet, and that's pretty much exactly where I'd say that would have landed if the screen hadn't have stopped the ball. Another one that went about 12 to 13 feet. And pretty accurate. So 6-iron bump and runs, no issues. Let's move on to the 4-iron. This is potentially where we're going to see some issues here because the launch of this is going to come out real low. So that's almost running along the ground. Now that's pretty quick. I'm not sure where that landed, but it said 2.9 yard carry. That's probably landing around 7 or 8 feet. So yeah, that's actually quite accurate. So it is picking up 4-iron bump and runs. And the trajectory of these is really low. It's still picking that up. That one was literally along the ground and it read it. Let's try push it a bit because everything seems to be working quite well. Let's try and bring it a bit closer for these bump and run shots. So I think what's helping the R10 out at the moment is the ball speed. So if we reduce the ball speed by moving closer, let's go to 16 yards. Oh, let's go a bit closer. Let's push it. Let's go 14 yards. Okay. 14 yards. I've got a 4-iron bump and run. Okay, that picked it up. That's quite good when you think about it. It's saying it flew almost 2 yards, which is probably pretty accurate. Okay, we had our first no read. That one was seriously low and it probably carried, I'd have to look at the ball cam footage, but that looked like it carried about 6 feet. We'll go again. 4-iron. Okay, that one registered and that one landed about 5.5 feet. That one landed probably about 4 feet. Okay, we had no read. So it's very hard to say when these bump and runs are going to not read. I'll try to do a super short low one again and we'll see if it gets it. Okay, that was about 4 feet. And it didn't register. I'll go back up to about 6 feet. And that registered. And look at the carry distance. Spot on. We'll go another 6 foot. That was closer to 5 foot, I reckon. And it didn't register. We'll do one more at 5 feet or 6 feet. And it registered that one. There you go. So with your bump and runs, it looks like they are kind of hit and miss, but I was quite surprised at some of those 4-iron bump and runs that were coming out so low and still registering, and the carry distance was quite accurate. And I think it's to do with the higher ball speed. Maybe the higher ball speed is helping out the Garmin determine that carry distance a bit better, as opposed to those short chips, which had the distance a little bit inaccurate on those 5 to 6 foot carries. Okay, so we've done chipping, we've done bump and runs, and we've done pitch shots. Let's move on to flop shots. I've got set up now, everyone's worst nightmare, a pop bunker in front of them. I've got 24 yards to the hole, so I'm going to look to carry these, say, roughly 18 to 20 yards, and then they should roll out and release and roll up to the hole. Flop shot, looking to carry this about 18 to 20 yards. Pretty good first shot. A little bit shorter, but that's going to release up. Oh, and no issues. Oh, that one was short. Go! Oh no! Okay, so first shot into the bunker. It's a good one. So really not seeing any issues with these flop shots. Should release down. Cool, no issues with flop shots. Let's now come into this pop bunker. So very similar to the flop shot, we've obviously moved a bit closer and we have a massive wall in front of us. Let's see how we go from here. 14 yards to the pin. So I'm gonna have to really pop this one up and try and land it about 10 yards. Pretty good. No issues with the reads from the Garmin. Probably a little long. Oh, sit. Go. Just enough. And we'll do one more. Yes, that's a good one to finish on. All right, guys, so that wraps up this long video, an in-depth look at chipping, pitching, bump and runs, flop shots, bunker shots for the R10. Hopefully you've got something out of this, and hopefully this has shown you that it can do chipping quite well. It does struggle on the shorter chip shots when you're trying to play those real short, say 6 foot shots, it's going to struggle. But that being said, I play sim golf a lot and I've found this thing to be pretty good on course, and it's not something that's been a detriment to my sim round. I've always found that the chipping is consistent enough and good enough to not impact my round. All right, guys, hope that helped. If you got any questions, let me know. If you want to see any other tests, let me know in the comments below. And thanks, guys. I'll catch you next one. Cheers.